Mary, great scoop. Why Pimco? Just competitive with Alan Greenspan or what?
I think there's that element, absolutely. Greenspan went in 2007 when he retired from the Fed, so it does seem like there's some good precedent for that. I think Pimco also was probably willing to pony up the cash. Yeah. They've been working with Bernanke for, I think, about 2 quarters now. They've been having him come into their secular forums to talk about strategy and where he thinks, interest rates are going, which is obviously very relevant. So I think Pimco, they're in a lot of transition right now. They lost their 2 co-CIOs last year, suffering all these outflows. Now's a great time. They're willing to pay up for a good name.
I can't imagine he's going to have an office and go out there 5 days a week and be like a regular worker bee. So what's the idea? Does he just occasionally call up? Is he on conference calls? Does he get paid just to have his name on the letterhead?
I think kind of a mixture of all that. I think you're on the nose because he does come in for these conferences. He's going to engage with clients to some extent. He's going to sit in on investment committee meetings and talk to different portfolio managers and try to help them understand, where he sees the state of things and where he sees it going. So it's kind of like phone a friend, right? Like you have a superhero on the line and you're like, hey, let me just call Ben and see what he thinks. So they're paying for that access.
How much do we think? How much do we think they're paying?
Well, he makes what, $200, $250 per speaking engagement. 1,000. So I think that you have at least 4 secular forums, well 3 secular and another one that's different, and then plus you have this access with clients. I mean, that's worth what, 7 figures at least.
All right, we still have Peter Cook with us from D.C. Peter, how much was Ben Bernanke making at the Fed?
Just under $200,000 as Fed chairman. Obviously, he had his job previous to that as head of the Princeton economics department. He was a school board member in New Jersey briefly. So this is someone who has not had a giant payday, although he does make some money from textbooks as well. And he's got a book coming in October, which to describe his experience during the financial crisis, which could also bring in some cash for the former Fed chairman. But clearly, this is going to be an opportunity for him to make some money that he wasn't able to make when he was serving in the public sector here in D.C.
And it's all hard to hold a grudge against him, perhaps, for trying to cash out a little bit after a long career of public service in academia.
Some people will find it easy.
That's true.
It's hard for you to hold a grudge.
It was just rhetorical.
Yeah.
Just move with it. What else has he been up to, Peter? Obviously, I've been seeing these sassy sort of blog argument he's gotten into with Larry Summers over secular stagnation. What else have you seen from Bernanke?
Well, I think we've already seen, even with these advising jobs with Pimco and with Citadel, that Ben Bernanke, and he made this case in an interview with Reuters, listen, I'm advising them. I am not getting a full-time job with them. He has a full-time job, and that's with the Brookings Institution here. He's been pretty active at Brookings, participating in panel discussions, economic assessments, trying to avoid second-guessing his successor, Janet Yellen, trying to avoid Fed policy directly, but he's been pretty involved in the economic debate. He's on Twitter now, and he's staying present, if you will, in the economic debate without intruding too much into Fed policy. His book may change that a little bit, coming out in just a few months, but Ben Bernanke's here in D.C. making his presence known. Haven't seen him at a Nats game recently, but he spends a lot of time there as well.
He's also a lot younger than, say, Alan Greenspan was when he retired as Fed chairman, right? So he's got a long runway in front of him. He's just got a place at Citadel. He just got a payday there. He's got one at Pimco.
So he's got a long runway to rake it in, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be pulling in double-digit millions in a matter of years, huh?
Yeah, I think
remember the trouble he had when he tried to refinance his home.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to be a problem from now on. He can just pay cash. I'm not sure if he thinks that would be a good investment, but he'll, I guess, advise Pimco
with rates this low. How could he not?
Pimco for his advice on home buying. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Is this part of a pattern, Mary, for Pimco? This sort of revolving door, Washington.
It kind of is in 2 ways. So there's the cozying up with D.C. They do like to kind of be an advisor to D.C. and have them advise them back. So this is something that they did a lot in the crisis, where they, were pretty proud to fly over and kind of weigh in on what they thought the Treasury, rescue program should look like, what we should do. So that they kind of admire themselves for that, and that's part of their branding. On the other side, they have been hiring. It is smart. It's really smart. You get an inside look. Right, do it. And then on the flip side of that, they have been kind of hiring all these economists, trying to get a face and a name and somebody who can get out there and talk. Because they lost Bill Gross, they lost Mohamed El-Arian, and they don't really have something like Dan Ivison, who's the new group CIO, does not love getting on TV and talking. Doug Hodge is less of the kind of face of the brand. They don't do it as much as Bill and Mohamed did. So they need somebody out there to talk, and having these economists able to kind of deploy into the public sphere, that's helpful for them.
Wouldn't that be great point if we could start booking Ben Bernanke for Jobs Day? That would just be fantastic.
And that's probably what
that's
what
very
will happen.
unlikely to happen.
I think I'll bet you $10 we can book Ben Bernanke.
For Jobs Day?
What's the time horizon?
For Jobs Day.
I just got myself a drink.
I didn't put a time horizon on that. Peter,
you're going to have to wait for the book to come out.
I was going to ask, what do you think the book's going to be about? We've seen so many already on the financial crisis. Hank Paulson probably most famously. So what does Ben Bernanke have to add here?
Well, you know, you can make the case, obviously, that Ben Bernanke was the person most at the center of the crisis, along with Hank Paulson. We've seen Tim Geithner's book come out. But the book is late to the game, and so there's a risk that Bernanke has waited too long for this book, that he stayed at the Fed and waited to deliver this book. But I think there's still going to be a lot of interest in what he has to say, the personal experiences he went through, the tough moments. So I think there will be interest. It comes out in October, and trust me, we've been knocking on his door, asking for an interview, and the message we've gotten back is wait for the book.
Oh, yeah.